So,
Station, everyone. Welcome back to TM Nerdy. I am, as always, TM, and I'm not alone. I'm here with Stefan. You know him, you love him. You know him as the Missing Link. We're here to discuss a little bit of Stand for the Silent. Then we're going to bring on our guest tonight, Stanley Bostwick. Let's talk a little bit about Stand for the Silent. It was created in 2010 in Oklahoma by a bunch of high school students. And then after they heard about Kirk and Laura Smalley's son, who was just 11 years old, commit suicide due to bullying. And that was just insane. I know you've read it. You listened to the podcast about it, Stefan. What are your thoughts about that?
I like the idea of it. I think the concept is cool. That's, especially for teenagers, because being a teenager, you don't like being told what to do or being force-fed stuff. So that's like an easy way for them to digest that message, of not to bully others and prevent picking on others and stuff like that. Cool concept.
Yeah, I think it's sad that it had to come to the point where somebody actually had to take their own life for people to actually take a stand and push to stop bullying. Like, guys, it's not really that cool to bully anymore. Like, it's more cooler to look at somebody and say you're worth it. That makes you cooler in my books, and I know that makes you cooler in Stefan's books, because us as the PCP Army, we like to spread joy. We like to spread positivity. Station, you're worth it. Be kind to everybody. But tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about a book that Bleak Haven's coming out with. They teamed up with Stand for the Silent, and I have Stanley Bostwick here to talk a little bit about that. Let's welcome him, everyone.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Station, Stanley.
Station.
Thank you so much for coming by and talking a little bit about the book that Bleak Haven and Donald, who may be joining us here in a little bit. What you guys are doing over there at Bleak Haven is commendable. You guys are doing an awesome job over there creating a book to help children deal with bullying.
Well, I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate you, opening us up to your audience as well, because, I mean, this is a community effort. This is a group effort. This is something that affects all of us. I mean, if you listen, you guys were talking about the podcast. In that podcast, Kirk is talking about, one in every 4 high school students have a plan how to take their life. Not even just think about it, but actively have a plan to do that. Right. And that's insane. And every single one of them, they feel like they're alone. They feel like I'm the only one with these thoughts. I know I did when I was in high school. I'm like, nobody understands. This is something I'm going through by myself. And that's one of the biggest lies we can tell ourselves, or that we can kind of feel, because, these thoughts are thoughts that a lot of people have, but it's really hard to talk about it.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Yeah, I don't think people realize, I know as we grow older, we're looking back at our old problems, we're like, why did that matter to us? But as a child, that matters to us. Everything feels like it's going to be the end of the world. We can't see that future that we've grown accustomed to. Our brains are still developing as well. So we need to take the time to actually support children in any of their problems that they have, may it be bullying or maybe be picking on. It doesn't matter. We need to make sure that we're there for the children at any sign of problems.
Yeah, it's like you said, there's no problems that I had in high school were really, I feel now aren't big enough, like you said. So, but at the time and before then, those are huge problems.
Absolutely.
I remember, this made me think of Mr. Rogers, when he was talking about how kids worry about different things than adults. They worry about falling down the drain. And that's a silly worry, but that's a valid worry in their mind. That's a big thing that they're worried about, even though it's something that's not possible.
Absolutely.
So, Stefan, did you have any issues with bullying growing up?
Not so. I mean, not so much bullying, but I think everyone kind of feels alone or ostracized in certain ways
Mhm.
throughout or certain aspects in life, and I've always kind of been a little empathetic, so it's easy for me to put myself in other people's shoes or try to just imagine, if something that I think is messed up, if it were to happen to me, how would stuff like that make me feel? So yeah, it's like you guys were saying, like with the kid, everything's so intense, and it's like it's hard to see the light at the not to be cliche, the light at the end of the tunnel when you're
Mhm.
just surrounded by darkness, like dark thoughts and all these dark emotions. Sometimes, if when you're feeling down and sometimes depressed or suicidal.
Yeah, I think that empathy is key. I think that's what we all kind of need to learn, and it is a learned thing. I mean, we can all kind of see and put ourselves in other people's shoes, but it's something we have to practice and we
Oh
have
yeah.
to try to understand because it's really hard to do that. And so I think that empathy is really key in this matter.
Great. Yeah, it's easy to tear something down, but it's
Mhm.
I mean, it should be reversed, and it could be easy, just as easy to build something up. It's something as simple as paying someone a compliment on something simple, on like their hair, their smile, anything like that, or just helping someone, holding the door for them, anything, something like that. Stuff like that goes a long way.
Oh,
That's
you're
why,
absolutely right. Yeah, it's the little things.
Yeah.
that's why we like to say you're worth it to anybody, whether it be random or anything like that. Could just make somebody's day. You never know.
I mean, and it's true though; they are worth it. You're just
Mhm.
reaffirming what's true.
So, how did it become? Did Kirk and Laura come to you for for this new book that you guys are working on?
Well, initially, I found out about Stand for the Silent. I had heard them in passing, especially growing up, because it's been 11 years now since they started it. So I remember hearing about it when I was a kid in high school myself. Um, and then, that kind of just fades away into the back of your mind. And then one day here in Utah, my wife and I were leaving a store and they had a little booth set up and they were very aggressive about it. um, and we talked to him for a minute, but they told us about their message, and so we spoke to him for a minute, and we were like, well, we don't have anything to donate right now, so we'll. I asked them if they had an office, if they had anything, and so they said, yeah, we have an office downtown. So I left, and I couldn't find their office, so I decided to just message directly on the contact page, be like, hey, is there an office in Salt Lake that I can, or a phone number I can call somebody, because my wife and I wanted to do an event for Stand for the Silent, because this is it's a big thing. We did a lot of research on them. It's a big thing for us. We both had issues growing up that were really difficult, and we wanted to help um, any kids that might not have anybody or feel like they're alone, like I was saying. So we wanted to do an event, and so I messaged them, and they said, no, we don't have an office. We just hired some marketers, which explains why they were so aggressive. But they hired marketers, and they were doing collections for Utah, because in Utah, I don't know where you guys are from. Sorry if I might ask, where are you guys at?
I'm Michigan.
Michigan, nice.
No, I'm in Canada, Prince Edward
Oh,
Island.
way cool. Way cool. So in Utah, we're like number 4 with the suicide rate in the states. And so it's a big deal to us. So we contacted them and they said, we don't have an office. Is there anything I can help you with? And I'm like, well, I have a comic book company. I would like to do an event. We've done charity events in the past for American Cancer Society and things of that nature with Eric, actually. And so they said, well, we would love to do an event. And that's when I found out that I was actually talking to Kirk. He answers all the emails himself. This is his full-time deal, which I thought was insane. And he said, well, I'd love to do that because he talked about how comic books, they had done a comic book in the past that was strictly for bullying. It was kind of like a graphic novel thing. I kind of want to find it to see what it was like. They did that a number of years ago. And he said that he loved the way it made the kids got excited about it. They could attach themselves to the comic books. So I said, well, then why don't we do a book? Because Donald's been working on Credence, the young adult book, for about a year and a half now. That's when I went back, or that's when I asked him to do it originally, and he's been working on the concept and the story since then. And I said, well, this works really well with the concepts we're working on with Credence. So I said, why don't we do an issue number 0? And I pitched it to Donald, and Donald loved it. And so he's been writing it, and that's... and Kirk's been incredibly supportive ever since then. He's really an amazing man, and he's an amazing example of taking pain and turning it into something better, something amazing.
Yeah, like I was listening to that podcast with Kirk and that, and he just wants to get the word out there. Like it can happen to anybody, and that it's happened to him, and he wants to save children. Like he wants to get the word out there, so no children like his will do the same acts.
He said something during the podcast, like he said when he sees kids, he tells them he loves them, and then like the kids will respond like, you don't even know me, and he's like, his mindset was like, it's so easy for people to hate something. Like it should be just as easy for people to show that kind of love or something like that. And that was kind of really profound to me. I was like, that's it's true. Like people should be able to be just as positive and be ready to and willing to lend out a helping hand when they're seeing others get picked on or something like that.
Yeah, that's a choice. And actually, funny you bring that up. Donald is actually going to put that directly into the book too.
That's
because Kirk said that, because that was a really powerful like one-liner that Kirk had.
And so like let's talk a little bit about the book. I know Donald's not here yet, but we can talk a little bit about how that got started and how the character got started, because I'm interested to delve into Bert.
Yeah, Bert's one of my favorites. So sorry, go ahead. What, any specific questions you'd like to ask first? I'm almost an expert, not quite.
Interesting choice of. Did you guys pick him or was he chosen because of like the he's associated with like fear and stuff like that?
Oh, sorry to cut you off, but
no, you're fine.
Donald picked him because, well, when I asked him to do it, Bleak Haven in general is full of mythology. I personally feel that there's not enough mythology represented in pop culture. I mean, we get the zombies and werewolves and vampires every 5 seconds, but there's also other really cool monsters. Like in the second issue of Bleak Haven, there's a Snallygaster, which is based off of some Maryland mythology from when they settled there. And so we like using these obscure myths and legends from all over the world to build these stories and to help build the stories. So Donald wanted to focus on American and Native American folklore. So something that he really latched onto in his research was the Mothman. I believe he came up with kind of the concept and the story, and then he was doing more research on stuff, and he just fell in love with the Mothman in general. And so that's why he chose it, was because the Mothman in real folklore is always around during a disaster. And so there's the two ways to kind of look at it, is either he brings that disaster or he's there to warn people of the disaster or try to help the disaster. And so Donald took the idea that Bert's here to help people, but he doesn't always succeed. And sometimes the disaster happens, even though he does his best efforts. So it really is that idea of him doing his best, and he's not seen always as a good thing because he does look like a monster. I don't know if you guys have seen him on our posts and stuff, but he's a cool looking monster, but at the same time he's one of like the purest characters we have.
I know as a kid, like if I would seen that, like just standing in front of me, I probably would be screaming and probably would have wet my pants. But it's kind of cool that you can take the scary and make it into something good, because like that's what you need to do too. Because like with kids that are being bullied, that get bullied into the darkest parts of their mind and then actually commit suicide, they need to see that there is a light in the darkness, and it's kind of cool that you take a dark character and make them light.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was saying when I was initially talking to Kirk. I thought, well, we could do, Credence, because Bert is just like that. In the main story, there's children that deal with a lot of issues like that, like there's bullying and stuff, but it's more to the side. And so with this issue number 0, we tried to take it like directly head on, and have it be a good introduction to Bert and the and the story and the universe and that sort of thing, an expanded version of Bleakhaven. And that's another thing that Donald wanted in this book, is something more rural, more out in the sticks, because we grew up in a really small town in Idaho together. Donald and I have been friends for a long time. And so he wanted to kind of base that town off of that town, just because we were kids obsessed with comic books, but there are no comic books in a small town, So I think that was a really cool concept too.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Do you have any more questions, Stefan?
Would you like? Is there like not a crossover, but would you guys have Bert appear in any of your other stories, or with your other monsters or tales, anything like that?
Yeah, we've got quite a bit planned. Our imaginations far outspan our art so far. So we've got quite a bit written right now, and we do have Bert appearing in a few other things. I've got something coming up that's another project we're working on that includes Bert. It's kind of a backstory, because Bert's supposed to be like this ancient creature. And obviously Bert's not his real name. The way I see it, Donald disagrees with me, but the way I see it is that Bert kind of chooses his name in every language and culture, and he like chooses something kind of fun and silly to kind of offset how scary he is.
I like
that. So, and I'm pushing him to make it short for Fuzzbert, but we'll see. So, anyway, sorry, go ahead.
And these books are going to be for kids.
Yes, yeah. Credence specifically is going to be for kids. The book you read, number 1 and 2, I aimed that more at an adult, older teenager audience. And this is when we decided to do comic books, because initially we had written a TV show. And that's still something we want to do. That's really what Welcome to Bleakhaven is kind of an anthology tangential to the main story of the TV show that we've written already.
I'd watch that.
Yeah.
Good. I'm excited to get that going. So that's something we were doing, and because my background's in film, that's something we've been trying to build up for a long time. And then I was like, well, I have access to artists. My brother's an artist, and I work with artists at my day job. So I'm like, we can do comic books. And so that's when Welcome to Bleakhaven started. Once we got that going, we were talking about doing other series, because we didn't want to just do a comic book series. So I'm working on another series called The Priest of Bleakhaven, which is a prequel to the main story. And then my wife's working on a book called Marks, which is about evil corporations and an assassin, and it's some cool stuff. And then I approached Donald, and I'm like, I need something for kids. I want a young adult thing, so we can have kids in our audience. And Donald actually went to school for child developmental psychology. And so I'm like, he's perfect. And it worked out really well, because he was actually looking into writing children's book and publishing them himself. So right when I came up and asked him to do it. And awesome. So this is something we've developed for children. The book Credence number 0 will be a free book. So we're not going to be selling it. We'll be giving it away at our events, and Stand for the Silence going to order a bunch of them to give away at schools and their events too. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. That's amazing, man. Like, I was just about to ask, like, where can we get these books, or like where would they be available? Like, I'm guessing Stand for the Silence will have them available on their website.
I believe so. We're working to have them available on our website as well, for free if we can swing it, or just pay shipping or something like that. There also will be a free version online. So we're actually going to make this into a motion comic as well, being narrated.
That's cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
So yeah, that's just going to be a YouTube link. And that's another thing that Donald was excited about, because as kids, we didn't have a lot of money either. So we didn't have any comic book shops in town. And so we wanted to make this readily accessible for any and all kids that wanted to enjoy it.
And I think all kids need to be available to read this, like have it available to them to read, because it's a strong story. And I commend, like, again, I commend you guys for doing it, like, and making it free. Like Kirk said in the video or the podcast, he's not in it for the money. He's in it for the word to get out. So yeah. I agree with that. Like, if down below in the description down below, there's a link to Stand for the Silent, and then a link to Bleak Haven as well. So you guys are going to want to check that out. You can also donate to Stand for the Silent as well. Become just a one-time donator or monthly, and that helps as well.
And if you want to support the book directly, we do have a link in our website that supports our book as well. It goes directly to putting the book together.
Yeah.
Give me just 1 second, gentlemen. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Is there anything you would like to talk about this upcoming event?
No, I'm just really excited. Like I said at the beginning, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. And you've been very easy to work with so far. So and I'm really excited to be here. I love talking about it. And so thanks again for that.
So let's talk a little bit about Kirk and Laura here for a second. They founded. It said that they founded it, and is that true? Or is it's a bunch of high schoolers that founded it, and they just kept it going?
I'm not 100% sure. I believe that they were directly involved with the direct foundation. I think that it kind of spread a lot wider than they initially anticipated, because again, the very next year there was a movie documentary released about it too, called Bully, which I haven't watched yet, or I've seen clips of it back when I was a kid, back when it initially came out. But so I think I'm not sure exactly how that got started. I'd have to ask him. Maybe we'll ask him that. He's going to be back on the podcast again here in a month or so, the Bleak Haven podcast. So that'll be fun. We'll talk more about that founding.
But Donald is actually here now, so let's bring him in.
He decided to show up.
Hello, I decided to show up. How you guys doing?
We're doing great, man.
Doing well.
How are you doing? We were talking a little bit about the book that you guys are creating together, and that called Credence.
Awesome.
And do you want to touch a little bit about that? How you had the idea to come up with that idea?
For sure. Well, so it was a long time coming. Early 2020, before everything kind of hit the fan, Cade asked me to write children's book. I have an educational background in elementary education, and the book he was working on was more for older audiences, so like high schoolers, college kids. And he's like, we need something for younger audiences. And so I just started coming up with ideas. And early on, it kind of went from like a kid in a suit of armor made out of light to a couple of kids running around with a paranormal creature. So it's going to be really fun. I can talk more about it in depth if you want. I just don't know how far you want me to go.
Oh, you can go in depth as much as you like. I love hearing about this.
I told him a little bit about Bert, but that's
perfect.
about it.
And touch on Bert. Like, I love
so Credence basically is in a world. We're talking about Bert.
Sorry, I think there's a lag.
So,
yeah, I think a little bit.
A little bit of a lag. Sorry, gentlemen.
That's all right.
Could you repeat your question again for me? I apologize.
Oh, I said let's talk a little bit about Bert, how you created him, and that. I'd like to hear it from you.
Oh, for sure. Okay. So, an important part to know about that is eventually we kind of settled on kind of going with the with kind of American mythology, right? Going along with that like cryptozoology kind of theme. And when we settled on that, we're like, okay, so what characters from American mythos can we kind of bring into this? And originally, I knew that I wanted a couple of kids in the woods. So, all right, so Bigfoot's overplayed. There's lots of lake monsters out there, but one of the best things that American minds have come up with is the Mothman. And originally, we kind of hoped to find like a village of pygmy moth people. And they were all going to have like cutesy fun names like Fuzzbert and Buzzbert and Lightbert. I don't know, just silly names, but we like the idea of a Mothman, and then we like the name Bert. So we decided to have a Mothman named Bert, and the more we learned into the mythology and kind of the stories surrounding the Mothman in American history is kind of an omen of bad things to come. So one of the first bad things that happened is everyone in West Virginia saw the Mothman, and then the Silver Bridge collapsed, killing around 16 people. And then since then, every time there's been a major disaster, including 9/11 and the even as far as Japan, when the nuclear reactor melted down during the tsunami, people have claimed to see the Mothman. So whenever you have these human tragedies, you see this larger-than-life mythical creature that pops up and something bad happens. And when you think of that from a story aspect, you can think of he's there for one of three reasons. One, he's just an omen that tells you, hey, something bad's going to happen. You better look out. Or another thing that a lot of people think of is that he's causing it. So he's not just an omen, but he's actually the reason for it. And then we kind of thought there's a third option. Maybe he's there because he's trying to stop whatever it is that's going to cause the disaster. Just like if Superman is around during a meteor shower or during a volcano, it's not necessarily that he started that disaster, but he just happened to be there at the same time that it happened because he's trying to prevent it. So rather than just having the Mothman be this untouchable, otherworldly creature, we're like, maybe he's a hero, maybe he's somebody we can interact with. And the more we entertained that thought, the more we found somebody who loves life and a character that's really approachable, even though he's a giant moth. So going for kind of the background, the story of Bert. Bert, going back to indigenous lore, moths in a lot of Indian culture are these medians from life to the spirit world. And so with moths being kind of these farriers from human spirits from the living to the dead, well, wouldn't it be cool if our Mothman, Bert, kind of had a supernatural connection and kind of was the guardian between the balance of life. So life, death, birth, and his existence is just to keep the beautiful circle of life kind of in balance. And so any threats he faces, any villains that he has, are basically trying to disrupt that. And where we enter into the story of the book that we're writing for Stand for the Silent is going to come in with a nefarious force is basically trying to end life as we know it. Now, I could go further into that, but maybe we'll save that for a little bit later.
That's awesome, man. So like, how did you have you known since 2010 about Kirk and Laura's son passing away due to depression and suicide?
So we didn't. We actually, Cade came across them just a few months ago. I think in March or May. When was it?
Yeah, it was about March. We went over that story, so you don't have to reiterate it. But yeah, that's how we really found out about them. Like I said before, I remember hearing about them. I remember hearing about the movie Bully and seeing clips in class and things. But other than that, I didn't really get too involved until just a few months ago.
And get into a personal question. Were you guys ever bullied? Like, I know you were, Stanley. You mentioned that earlier, but Donald, were you bullied as a child?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people who kind of come from a creative background. My wife is actually an artist by trade. She has a bachelor's degree in fine arts, and
she does a good job.
So it's something that we talk about a lot when you look at anybody from the art world. Is typically you have these people who are quiet, introverted, and just to say it simply, they feel more than other people, and those people generally are easy targets for people who are releasing stress in an unhealthy way, which we call bullying. And so I think that most people in a creative environment have experienced that somewhere in life. Sometimes it comes from the family, sometimes it comes from school people. I had a little bit of both. I had a pretty my stepdad wasn't a nice guy, and then you get into that. I was kind of a poor kid, and I was kind of larger in size, and so all of these things kind of related to difficulty in school. But yeah, and I mean, middle school's rough for everybody. So without going into details, that's kind of my experience with bullying. But yeah.
Sorry for cutting you off there, Steph.
Oh no. I was gonna say, what were like some of you guys' favorite heroes? Or I was gonna ask, were there any inspirations when developing this that you took from like favorite comics or heroes growing up?
Well, that's yes and no. Donald and I basically started our relationship with talking about superheroes. We met in high school, and from the very first day we met, he's like, we met through a mutual friend. We were going somewhere, and he got in the car, and he's like, hey, guys, I was coming up with a character, and I wanted your thoughts on it. And that's when Donald and I started talking about doing characters and superheroes and stuff. So that's deep-seated in our relationship. We always ask, well, what powers would you have? Who would win in a fight? So, yeah, we're some of the biggest nerds. Donald was the president of the comic book club that he founded in high school. So, but for me, I think Spider-Man and Superman were huge, or Spider-Man and Batman and Superman, really a bunch of all the main superheroes. Sure. But Spider-Man especially, because he was one of the most, and is one of the most relatable characters, because every iteration of Spider-Man has just like piles and piles of these personal problems. Absolutely. And that's something that really goes into our philosophy at Bleakhaven, which is every story has the two sides. There's the aliens and explosions and fighting side to make it interesting, and then there's what the story is actually about, which in this case is depression, suicidal thoughts, bullying. And so we just kind of try to tell those stories, these human stories, through these crazy mythical and supernatural things.
Awesome. What about you, Donald? Favorite heroes?
So I like a lot of the obscure, like the more obscure ones. Now, I'm not too deep into it that I know any superheroes that nobody else knows, but I'm a big fan of like Martian Manhunter and Hellboy and the Red Tornado. The Question is another big one for me because I like a lot of these characters who, in the public eye, are kind of seen as like a menace or a monster, and deep down they just want to help people, even though the world is against them. They just want to do good. And I feel like talking about the inspiration for the book we're coming up with, and then my babbling about being bullied earlier, I felt like there wasn't really a connection there, but I just want to say that I think the biggest connect we have for the cause of Stand for the Silent and comic books is Kate and I kind of share the philosophy that with comic books especially, you're able to share these stories of these heroic people who overcome difficulty and find fulfillment in helping other people. And that's kind of what we want to do, is we want to show kids that, and really everyone, that true fulfillment in life is going to come when we help other people and get outside of ourselves. And I don't think there's a medium in the world that can illustrate that better than comic books. Because
Absolutely.
I think most everyone gets into comic books through the superhero genre, whether it's Superman. I would say, in my experience, most people start with Spider-Man, because Spider-Man comic books are amazing and they always get the best writers for those. But there are always these people who are struggling to be themselves and find themselves when they make the world a better place. And even though they're a lot cooler than I'll ever be, just the essence of that can be translated into who we are. And I'm sure you guys probably feel that in your own life, that you've been inspired to be a better person because you saw Peter Parker or Bruce Wayne mostly of themselves and help those even though no one asked them to.
Yeah, no, a lot of my moral compass I've developed, it was like the blueprint was from reading comics as a kid, and my favorite heroes still going out there, and even though if they had their own problems going on, they were still out there saving others and doing what they had to do, making the world a better place. So yeah, a lot of my moral compass to comic books and superheroes. So I agree with that.
And we love to spread positivity around this community, like this comic community. We like to say, station everybody, you're worth it, like I said earlier. And everybody in the chat and everybody watching this on the rewind, you guys are all worth it for joining us for this discussion.
Yeah, 100%. And again, I'm sure Donald would agree, is the third time I've said it, but again, we really appreciate you having us on. It's been a lot of fun. And like I said, I keep saying, I love talking about it. And it's speaking of you're worth it, we have these bracelets that Kirk sent us to say I am somebody. He sent us we'll put that up. He sent us 4 bags of these to give out at our events, so that's what we're going to be doing.
See, that's like that stuff like that goes a long way. Like just it's reinforced. Sometimes you never know if what someone's going through, and just seeing a message like that or hearing that can leave an impact and let them know that they're worth it, or there's somebody, their voice should be heard.
Yeah, and it only takes 2 seconds to say that to somebody to make their day. Say it to a bunch of people. Like, you can change a person's life by just saying those little words. And it's funny how like you can say negative words or you can say positive words, and both affect people to a significant way. So it's what you choose to do, because I know as a kid, like, you're not thinking like, oh, I'll live with this the rest of my life. Bullying that person could have damaged them and stuff. You don't think about that until you're older, and then you realize, you look back at it, it's like, how stupid was I picking on somebody that was littler than me? And like you kind of feel ashamed of your younger self. So do you want to like love yourself as you grow, or do you want to feel down that you were a bully?
And I think that this book is just as much for bullies as the bullied too, because a lot of people who bully don't understand. They don't know how to, like, they're looking for validation. They're looking for They feel bad, so they want other people to feel the same way. And I think that we've all bullied to an extent. Like, I can think back to times where I was a dick to somebody because I was having a bad day. I think that's bullying, and I think that that's wrong, and I am sorry that I did it. And I think that's an important part of the story is that these bullies have pain too. And I think that Donald has done an amazing job with this book because he's fused all of these nuanced issues and these problems and discussed them in such an amazing way, combined with the stories we're already telling. Because I was initially worried when we were doing it that it would be like Captain Planet save the world, you know. But Donald has done an incredible job at not necessarily keeping it subtle, but fusing it into the story that we've already prepared. And I'm really proud of it, and I'm really excited to get it into people's hands.
So it's already done. It's already illustrated, edited.
Oh, no. Sorry, go ahead, Donald. You were cut off a little bit, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry for cutting you off there. I just wanted to add to what Cade was saying is that it's really important for us. It's not just to reach out to the person on the ground who's kind of being beaten down by the world, but it's also those who've lost their way. That I am somebody is for everybody.
Right.
And it was really important for us to tell the people who are being bullied that the person making your life difficult is often in just as much pain as you are.
Yeah.
I remember a really important conversation I had with my older sister. Me and my older sister were 4 years apart, but we're really, really close. And my older sister is clinically obese. She's a big girl, and especially in high school, that was really, really hard on her because she was intensely bullied at school with a lot of people making whale jokes, and you can imagine, right? And I had this guy in middle school that just made PE a living hell for me. And I remember going home one day and telling her that I wished that guy didn't exist, and it would be better for the world. The world would be a better place if he just died. And I remember her looking at me, and she says, "You don't mean that." And I'm like, "I really, really do. Like, I wish this guy wasn't on the face of this planet." And she looked at me, and she's like, "Listen, you have no idea what's going on in his life. There is something that is causing him to act that way. And chances are, it's worse than what he's putting you through. That doesn't justify his actions, but it does explain what's going on." And after we graduated high school, I found out that this kid's home life was absolutely a nightmare. He was living in hell every day of his life. And unfortunately, he was taking that stress out on me. But I was blessed with great friends, a caring mother. I had things that I loved in life, and I was able to overcome my insecurities and my difficulties. But he wasn't always so lucky when he was growing up. And I have come to forgive that guy and understand where he was coming from, where I may have not been able to do that if someone that I respected hadn't have taken me aside and said, "Hey, you've got to love people even when they make it hard." And that's really what we're hoping to do with this comic book.
I like that. That's a powerful message. And I think when a lot of times, I myself included, forget that, when we discuss bullies, that it's like you were saying, that it's coming from a source. They're not just doing it to have fun. Like, oftentimes they've got something worse going on, and that's their only way for their outlets to their emotions. And I think that's cool that you've got the subtleties of stuff like that in your book too. It's not just like, hey, bullies are dicks and they're wrong, but there's more going on. Like, there's a lot of gray area.
It's the subtlety is key, and that's something that I've stressed as editor-in-chief for Donald. And Donald's done a great job anyway, so I don't think he needed me for that. But we tried to make this, like I said, not Captain Planet, but something a little bit deeper than that. And going back to your question, TM. No, it's not done yet. We're still working on it. The artists are working on it. My brother is doing the pencils on it, and he's actually in Kenya right now, so he's juggling his vacation or whatever. My sister has a house out there because my brother-in-law is from Kenya. That's cool. So he's doing art for them. He's trying to juggle his family and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully that's coming soon. He should have the cover of the book done soon, so we can start sharing that.
Awesome.
That is amazing. So, guys, do you have anything else to add?
Any other projects you guys are working on, or?
Welcome to Bleak Haven number 3 and 4. It's going to be another flip book that should be out about probably a little sooner than Credence. So we're looking at a month or two. We're behind schedule on it, but we're getting it done.
So when can people expect to see Bleak Haven for digital release on Stand for the Silence website or brought to schools and that?
That'll be for sure by the end of the year. We're hoping August, but it's in all likelihood probably September.
That'll be here before you know. Yeah, that's perfect timing.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking of just getting it out there for schools. We're hoping to get it into Free Comic Book Day, but that's not looking like it's happening this year. Maybe we'll get it in next year. It'd be a lot of fun to get that out. It's just like we said, getting out the message,
right,
and helping us write more stuff. So, and a portion of Credence, once it starts coming out regularly, will go to Stand for the Silent as well. A portion of our profits from that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because that's what you need to do is get the message out there. I hope everybody here and watching on the replay is will try to search for those books. And I know Stefan has kids. I know a lot of people in the chat has kids and that. So this is perfect for them to help them deal with everyday life in a way, because they help them kind of understand the bully and understand the person who's being bullied.
Yeah, and I think that's I think that this book is important for everybody. I don't think it's just for kids. And I think, again, Donald did a great job with it.
You guys are so with me. No, so I didn't want to cut you off, but I was going to say you got me over here hyped for it. And I'm not even the general audience. So, you've done a good job.
Awesome. So we try to just put forth some quality work. Donald, you're muted, I think.
I do it all the time.
Oh, I was just going at what you guys were talking about a second ago. Something that Kurt has really instilled in us, and the center of everything we're doing for Credence Issue 0 and for all the work we're trying to help with in Stand for the Silent, is the few times we've talked to him, near the end of the conversation, he's always like, "Gentlemen, what we're doing here is to save babies, and it might even save yours." And so as we've been working on this, as I've been writing, I've honestly been thinking of the 2-year-old behind me as I'm writing. I'm like, what does he need to hear to get through the hard days? So I just wanted to add that. Kate, sorry for cutting you off. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. No, it's great. I don't even remember what I was saying. That was so touching. No, I just to add on that though, Kirk has been amazing. He's been so supportive and excited to see this book. He loves Bert. He's excited to meet him, and we're excited to show him Bert.
That's dope. We need more people like you guys in the community trying to spread a message like that. That's awesome.
Well, we appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys.
For me, it's really hard not to get behind something like this.
Right, yeah.
Again, it affected me so much as a kid. It affected my wife, I'd lost several people to suicide, and it's unbearable. It really is. And I think that, again, Kirk is an amazing example of helping people through his pain, and that's really what all of this is about. When you have pain, you can really do one of two things. You can either hurt people or help people.
Absolutely.
And we're just trying to do what we can to help.
And as well as like children, like when they see somebody being bullied, they're worried themselves of like actually standing up and helping that kid, because like they're like, what's going to happen to me?
Yeah,
so,
I don't want to be a target.
Yeah, right. So it's always the easy way out, just to turn around and walk away. But like we're telling you, like, trust me, in the long run, it'll make you feel so much better. Like at the time, it won't, like, because you may get bullied, you may fall victim and stuff, but in the long run, it'll make you a better person, and it'll make that person that was being bullied happier as well, because somebody actually stood up for them.
That's true.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to superheroes, right? Like, most of what they do makes their life really, really hard, but they do it anyway because it's who they are.
And that to me is like what a hero is. It's the superhero powers don't make a hero. That's the super part, right? Like, super villain, superheroes. I believe a hero is somebody who takes what they have and does their best to make the world a better place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what everybody. That's my homework for everybody watching today. Try to do something good that helps benefit somebody else. That's your guys' homework for tonight.
Pay it forward.
Like Missing Link said, it's the small things. Any small thing you can do.
Helping someone out, paying them a compliment, all that stuff goes a long way. I try to tell that's like a daily mantra for me. Like, small things go a long way.
That's a good one.
It's pretty obvious, but Stefan, you're looking really good today.
Thank you, Trav. Thank you. Not better than all you gents, but I try. I do my best.
I don't know. You don't have a Bleak Haven t-shirt. So
that's what I was going to say. I'm a little...
We got the Clint's comics.
Those are pretty good.
See, I was thinking I underdressed. I'm like, man, I should have tried harder this morning.
No, you're the best dressed one here. I'm liking the hat.
His trademark hat and glasses, yeah. They look nice.
All right, guys. I think we're almost at the hour mark. Do you guys want to say anything before we wrap things up?
I just want to thank the community.
Thank you so much for having us on. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, you're good, Donald. There's a lag. I'll forgive it this time. No. You go finish your thought, Donald.
Oh, that was it. Hey, thank you guys. This has been an incredible experience, and we just want to thank everybody who's going to help out and even check into what Stand for the Silent is. It's something we really need to get out there because it's becoming a huge problem, and together we can make the world a better place. I'm done. Kate, it's all you. Love you guys. Thank you.
It's true. It's a plague. It really is a plague. So if we can do that to help alleviate some suffering, then we've done our job. And again, I do appreciate everybody who's watching and everybody who's a part of this community. And I think we're going to do some great things, and love to have you guys all a part of this as well. Like Donald said, go check out Stand for the Silent and do what you can. And if you can't do anything, pay it forward. Just help somebody out.
Well said.
And like I said, guys, Stand for the Silent link is down below, as well as Bleak Havens. And while you're down there, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe now. And as Big Room Collectibles likes to say, ding, 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 that notification bell for future videos. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. And I hope everybody watching this right now and watching this on the replay tries to track down this book, or gives a little bit back to this amazing charity.
It's worth it.
So I just want to say Station Tank. So thank you, Donald. Thank you, Stanley. And thank you, everybody watching. And thank you, Missing Link, for joining me today. You guys are all worth it, and everybody's worth it. Station, everyone.
Have a good one.
We'll see you guys. Well.